Hello, my friends. Welcome back. We are looking at enhancing the card game war project from the WiByte Python curriculum available at www.wibyte.in. In this video, we'll see how we can make a variant of war which is called progressive war, which I found quite interesting. Recall that in the original war game, both players put out 3 cards to the cards pile once there is a war. In this variant, however, the number of cards that are put inside the playing table cards keeps on increasing. Now, talking of variants, in fact, there are many variants that people have proposed for war. This website here can guide you on this. So, I urge you to look at this. And if you want to implement any of those variants, do try, and I'll be happy to, sort of work with you. In fact, this progressive war here is also one such variant. Implementing progressive war in our code is actually quite easy because all we need to do is to just have a variable instead of a fixed 3 over there. Remember, whenever war happens, I check if I have got sufficient number of cards to play that war. If not, then the game is getting over, the move is also getting over for either the player or the computer. Now, once that happens, I put out, that many cards, which is here to the table cards, and then I delete these from the playing and the computer cards. Now, all I need to do is really to create one variable called war cards and keep on incrementing this every time a war happens. And this is actually really quite straightforward in our structure. So notice here, this is the code where I check for the war and so on. Here, my number of cards is always set to 3. So I'm going to change this to, let's say, war cards plus 1 because I'm going to play war cards to the table pile, then I must have at least one more card to play the next move. And likewise here, I'm going to say, say war cards plus 1. So if my length is less than that, then the game gets over. I don't need to move further here. On the other hand, if I do have that many cards, I'm instead of saying put 3 cards, I'm going to put war cards, and of course I can be a bit more let's say explicit here and say in steps of 1, and here again I say war cards in say steps of 1. Having done this, I'm going to delete 0 until say war cards from my player cards and the and the computer cards. So I just put say war cards, and likewise over here, and then comes an important bit that I'm going to increase my war cards equals to say war cards say maybe plus 1, so that every time the game ends in a war, I increases by 1. But obviously I must first define this war card, so I do that outside this while loop. I say, well, war cards is equal to say 3 to start with. Now this has made the game quite general. We'll have to play this for a while to see those wars happening. Now I got my first war here quite early. War happened, player had 25 cards to start with, player has won the war. Remember, after the first war, which is 3 cards, player will end up with 5 more cards, so player ends up with 30, computer is at 22. Let's hope to get more wars in this. Now again I got a war this time round. Now notice here, when I got a war here, player had 28 cards. This time round, I'm putting out 4 cards because the war cards is increased, and that's why the change in the number is actually 6 now. So 28 has become 22 for the player, 24 has become 30 for the player. So war has become that much more intense, you can say. In fact, luckily I got my third war as well. So this time round, war began when player had 26 cards, computer also had 26. The game is quite fluctuates between the two. But notice here, player has ended up with 7 extra cards because more cards are being put out, whereas the computer has ended up with 7 less cards. So you can clearly see the game has become a little bit more exciting whenever a war happens. Of course, the chances of war happening has not got changed. Again, I got a war. This time, player had 29 cards and the war started. Notice after the war, having won the war, player is ending up with 37, whereas computer has gone down 8 and it is only 15. So you can clearly see that the war is taking out more and more cards, and that's exactly what we wanted. Finally, my player won this game. I hope you found this interesting. In general, if you think this way of learning, where we build activities, we apply concepts, we see how ideas are actually applied in real world problems, is something that appeals to you, look at our website because that is how we learn Python programming. Take care. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.